I'm going to teach you how to make this amazing Corgi Pride pillow. So I'm going to show you how to do this. This is machine applique using a template that is free that you can download from my site. And I'm going to show you how to do the quilting if you want to quilt it the way that I did. Also, look at this fun rainbow bag. I will show you how to do an invisible zipper insert, kind of a quick and dirty way, the way that I do it. If you're afraid of zippers, have no fear. It's not as bad as you think. You'll learn how to do that, and it really doesn't take that long. Are you ready? Are you ready to make this gorgeous pillow? I know you are. All right, let's get to it. All right, first things first. Here are the things you need. A full list will be down in the description. This is for the background quilting thread. I love Aurifil thread for piecing and quilting, but it flows through my machine so well. The monofilament they have is also excellent. The applique template link is in the description box, so you can print that out. Sticky back fusible web. I use a product called Floriani Applique Wonder. It has a sticky back, so when you put it down onto fabric, it sticks. You'll need paper cutting scissors and fabric scissors. A nice nylon zipper, the width of your pillow. You can use Microtex needles and fray check, optional, but they both help in different ways. The fabric for your corgi face should be nice and contrasting to your background fabric. The lining fabric can be any fabric that you need to get rid of. No one is going to see it. I use 2 layers of extra plush batting, but you can go with 1 if your machine isn't quite powerful enough to quilt through that. Your pillow back fabric you can go with the same color as your pillow top, or you can contrast like I did. You'll also need a rotary cutter to trim everything up and to cut out your fabrics. A big acrylic ruler. I try to get one bigger than the pillow form that I'm using. It makes things a lot easier. You're going to start out by tracing your template. So I cut a piece of fusible web out, and I'm using a light box to trace through. I've got like an old light box that I've always used for all of my applique pieces. You can get them from Amazon or eBay, but they make seeing the template through the paper a lot easier. When you're done tracing, do a rough cut around the edges just to eliminate a lot of the excess. Don't cut anything out on the lines yet. Go ahead and press your applique fabric, whatever fabric you end up choosing, so that it's nice and flat. And choose where you're going to be placing it. Make sure that you're ironing your applique piece onto the wrong side of your fabric. And cut out each individual piece. I love these K Buckley Perfect scissors. They are serrated edges, so they cut really nice and cleanly, and they hold onto the fabric while you're cutting. So cut all of your pieces out. Don't remove the paper yet. If you don't want frayed edges, use fray check around each edge and wait for it to dry before you fuse it down. Let it dry completely, and then you won't have any frayed edges at all. I made the mistake of not cleaning my iron before I ironed my background fabric, so don't make the same mistake as me. This Rowenta iron cleaner I've had forever, but you can also use salt on a towel if you don't want to use a conventional cleaner. Go ahead and press your background fabric. I've gone ahead and cut out my background fabric square. It's the same width and length, the pillow form, plus 2 inches on each side. And then go ahead and choose the placement of your corgi. If you want it centered, put it in the center. If you want it offset like I did, you can offset it. You're going to want to put your template behind your background fabric. And I wasn't able to see it very well, so I ended up putting my light box underneath everything so that I could go ahead and place it out. Peel the paper off of your applique pieces at this point. Do one at a time. It is really sticky, so be careful. it will stick to itself. I had a piece that got stuck and I had to like carefully pull it apart. But this helps with placement. If you get it stuck in one spot, you can pick it up and put it down somewhere else. And make sure you're using fresh product, because applique web does go bad if it's sitting out somewhere. The glue becomes not as good and it doesn't become as sticky over time. So if you're having issues with it fusing, take a look and see how old it is. If you can't remember when you got it, maybe it's time to get a fresh batch. So place your pieces one at a time. And then check everything and push it all down. Make sure it's all stuck to your background fabric. And then remove, if you used a light box, remove that from underneath along with your piece of paper. And then we're gonna go ahead and get it ready for fusing and then fuse it down. You really have to hold it down for a long time with certain fusible webs, so check and make sure that it's completely fused. And then you can let roll any kind of little remaining straggly bits and trim up any frayed edges if you have any. Now we're going to prepare our quilt sandwich and get it ready for quilting. I have my background fabric wrong side up. It really doesn't matter in this case because no one's going to see it. And my pillow top is right side up. I put 2 layers of batting in between, and now I'm using a spray baste to kind of make it tacky so it'll stick. You can also use safety pins if you wish. 505 spray base is the best basting spray. I'm just using this up because I need to use it and get it out of my studio. So spray baste both sides, and then clean your machine. If you haven't cleaned your machine before you start quilting, it's a good idea to do that, so that if you start having quilting problems, you know it's not because the machine is dirty. And I haven't quilted on this machine in a while because I have a Sweet 16, so I ended up having to remember a lot of settings for the free motion quilting part. And I ended up writing them down so that I didn't have that problem in the future. And look how gross my feed dogs are. I couldn't believe this. You'll get like buildup in the weirdest places. But I use my seam ripper or a little stiletto to kind of push it all out. Go ahead and thread your machine with your monofilament. I use this for the Corgi face because I'm using a rainbow fabric and I didn't want a thread to stand out against it. So I'm going to test out my thread first and set my machine up, and of course take my shoes off before I start quilting. And test out my tension settings, my needle. And no. So I ended up figuring out and remembering that this machine, the tension was really high, so I did turn it way down and then everything was fine. And now I'm going to go ahead and start quilting my applique pieces. I'm quilting right along the inside edge with my monofilament thread. And you just kind of want to outline the inside edge. For some of these parts, it's going to be so skinny it'll just go over on top of itself, but you want to secure this down first. And then cut your jump stitches in between. Monofilament will catch on a lot of stuff, so you want to make sure that all of the little jump pieces are cut, little trailing threads. When you're finished, change over to your background quilting thread. I'm using a white or a fill 50 weight thread and a 75 or 90 quilting needle. And I decided to outline my Corgi first. I was going to do a background fill all around the Corgi and just have the Corgi face outlined so it stuck out more against the rest of the pillow back. And the background fill design that I'm doing, it's like my version of McTavishing. I have a tutorial video on that if you want to learn how to do this type of quilting. It's kind of old, but it's very comprehensive. And I learned how to do this type of quilting on my domestic machine. So if you really love this, you don't have to have a long arm to achieve this look. The definition that you see, it comes from the multiple layers of batting that I have in my quilting sandwich. So if you want that kind of puffy definition, put multiple layers of batting underneath your quilt top. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim my top. I trimmed it to the size of my pillow form, and then I actually added an inch on either side. So I had a little bit of wiggle room, and it wasn't going to be super tight on the pillow form with so much quilting. So there's just an extra inch on every edge. And now we're ready. We have the top done. Now we just have to do the back. Go ahead and press your pillow back fabric so it's nice and crisp too. And the pillow back needs a seam in it because of the zipper insert. So I added an inch to the width and 2 inches to the length because we're going to be cutting it along the top edge. So after you're finished cutting your pillow back, you're going to be inserting a seam line. So we're actually putting a sliced cut about 4 inches from the top. And then just flip this little short strip over, right sides together, and pin it, and we're going to be putting a 1/2 inch seam along that edge. And remember to put your feed dogs back up after you're done free motion quilting. I changed my foot and everything, and that's the one last step I forgot to do. Alright, you're going to press the seam open. This is where our zipper is going to be inserted. So press it open nice and flat. I do a little finger press before I do the actual pressing. Now put the zipper face down on the seam. Make sure that it's face down. This is really important. Pin it so that the center of the zipper is in the center of the seam line. And then just secure the open end so that it's not like loose. Now I start my zipper on the beginning, but I move it to where I can actually put my foot all the way down. So you kind of have to avoid the zipper pull and start a little further into the pillow. Move your needle so that it's on the right side of your zipper. And you can kind of feel it and see where the stitch is and move your needle over. And then stitch all the way down along that edge. Make sure you don't stitch into the zipper because then you won't be able to unzip it and you'll have to use a seam ripper. And just carefully stitch all the way to the end. Now we're going to stitch our end shut. So just tack it shut. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be stitching again around the edge and that will secure it. So this is just to kind of hold it closed for now. And pivot your piece and you're going to be stitching along the other side of the zipper all the way back to the beginning end of the zipper where the zipper pull is. Just be careful and stop before you get to the zipper pull. Grab your seam ripper and flip it over to the right side. We're going to be opening the seam up. So just carefully open it up. And open it up the whole length, all the way across even the edges and the ends, except for the opening end, not the closing end. So now we're going to be fixing the opening end. You're going to unzip it halfway. And I'm re-securing the top where the opening is so that whenever I zip the zipper shut, the zipper doesn't come off completely. So this will stop the zipper end from coming off. And I'm completing my stitches here where I wasn't able to because the zipper stop was in the way. And now the zipper is finished. You're going to lay it right sides together on top of your pillow top. Make sure the zipper is unzipped halfway. Pin everything on the edges. If you have excess edges, you can go ahead and trim everything even at this point. You want both pieces to be completely square or the size of your pillow form if your pillow form is a different size. And then you're just going to sew a 1/2 inch seam all the way around the edge. Make sure your zipper is open, otherwise you won't be able to turn it inside out. Once you've sewn your 1/2 inch seam, you can turn it inside out. And here's your pillow top. And you can go ahead and stuff your pillow form inside. I use a stiletto to kind of poke the corners out, but your pillow should go right in. And your Corgi Pride pillow is finished. Thanks for joining me with this project. Please send me your pictures if you finish this. I would love to see. And I'll see you at the next tutorial.